Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, you are going to be getting the best in-depth market analysis in all of the internet. We're going to be answering three main questions in this video, which will include number one, is this a market crash? Number two, should you buy the dip now? And number three, what are the top 5 stocks to be shorting during this market turn? Guys, if you're following the market and you want answers, this is the video for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into it. You guys know I'm not a fan of wasting your time. Answering the first question, is this a market crash? Straight up answer, no, it is not. The reason this is not a market crash and cannot be a market crash based on the knowledge and the data we have currently is because you still have stocks that are absolutely flying right now. So some great examples of that would be Shopify, okay, would be Domino's Pizza, okay, would be CHGG, would be, Airbnb, right? So you have a lot of stocks which are still flying higher, right? Look at Roku the other day, up 4.5%, right? So you got to understand that during a real market crash or a severe market downturn, you are not going to see investors pile into stocks like Roku and Shopify. And the fact that they are doing that, and once again, they're not just buying it, lightly. No, they are piling into them, right? That is a sign to us that this is not a market crash, okay? Because once again, during a market crash, you're not going to see stocks like Shopify and Roku take off to the moon like this, okay? So that's your first reason why this is not a market crash. So then, now that I've given you that point, you're probably thinking, okay, well, question number 2 was, should you buy the dip now, okay? The answer is actually no, okay, because we still have a lot of downside here. You got to understand, we're only down 90 points, 84 points off the top here. I mean, we got a lot of downside still. And you got to understand that, the Shopify, Roku, mostly we're talking technology here, which is actually maintaining bullishness currently. Right, well, that's not the only sector in the market. And so what we're really about to dive into is some of the weaker sectors, which are the ones that are really going to bring this market down lower. Okay, so once again, answering question number 2, should you buy this dip now? No, and I'm about to explain to you why, because once again, it's not about just technology. It's about the other sectors involved within the market. So some really, really weak sectors would include utilities. Okay, look at this chart. That's a bear. Okay, now look at, QQQ. That's a bull, right? When the market crashes or, is dropping to the severity or to the magnitude that it was this last Friday. I mean, look at this drop, right? So when the market drops like this, the NASDAQ only dropped 0.78%, where if you look at the utilities sector, they're down 2.6%, right? So we're trying to find what are the weaker sectors that are really bringing the market down right now. Obviously, utilities is one of them. Second sector that's highly, highly bearish in relation to the overall market is jets, which is basically travel, right? So you might be thinking, okay, well, it only dropped 0.59%, yesterday, okay? But it's not just about the magnitude in which it dropped yesterday. It's also about the chart itself, which is highly, highly bearish. So I'm going to explain this further in detail here, but this is one of our most bearish sectors in my view, and once again, I'll explain this here in further detail. And lastly, XLF, banks, so down 2.41% yesterday. So these are your 3 bear sectors that are really bringing down the market currently, okay? And so with that being said, I told you I would give you the 5 best stocks to short, and you better believe they're going to be stocks within these sectors, not in technology, right? Why would we short technology in this market, right? You don't want to short technology right now. And by the way, when I say don't short tech, it's not because tech won't fall, right? Tech is very likely to fall as well with the market, but it's very likely to not fall as much, okay? So we're actually going to see, are they going to rotate in the tech during this market downturn, or is just tech going to sell off with the market, just not as much, right? The point is, it's not nearly as beneficial to you to be shorting tech as it is to be shorting the weaker sectors. Keep that in mind, okay? So now that we understand that, hey, tech is, you want to stay away from that, then what do we want to short? Well, I'm about to give you the top 5 short ideas during this market downturn, which I believe will produce you the greatest returns, okay? So starting off with number 1, BKNG. Now, this chart is a bear. Now, I know it sounds counterintuitive, because I just said don't short technology. BKNG is in the NASDAQ. So, Alex, what the heck are you saying? Well, you got to understand, although it's considered a tech stock, really, what is BKNG? It's also a travel stock. Right, so although it may be considered a technology stock, number one, it doesn't trade like a technology stock. And number two, it's really a travel stock, right? So although it's a part of the NASDAQ, doesn't mean it really is, in my view, sharing the same qualities and characteristics of most of these stocks within the NASDAQ. Okay, so this is your top short idea, in my opinion, because this chart is so beautiful. You got a left shoulder here, head right here, right shoulder here. Neckline break would give us a price target in the 1800s. You've got RSI divergence, you've got MACD divergence, you got distribution. As this chart has it all. You've got increased sell volume in the right shoulder. I mean, this is a bear, okay? And so when you combine the fact that, okay, let's look at BKNG chart and let's actually pull up the JETS sector, which I was telling you about earlier, right? Well, look at this, right? So the JETS sector, which is travel pretty much, has been underperforming the market and downtrending in the last few months, whereas if you compare that to the S&P 500, which has obviously been uptrending for the last few months, you know that you're shorting something that is weak in relation to the market, right? So S&P uptrending, JETS downtrending, BKNG topped out with a head and shoulders. That is a beautiful breakdown of why you would want to be short of BKNG, in my opinion. Okay, so that's going to be your number one shorting idea for this market downturn. Now, moving on to our number two shorting idea is going to be LRCX, which is a semiconductor stock, which is exactly why we want to be short of it. Guys, you've got a double top here with an RSI divergence, okay? You can see right there, boom, okay? And on top of that, you got increased sellers, you've got MACD cross, you got distribution here, obviously, right? But what's most important is not just the chart of LRCX, right? Let's look at also the semiconductor sector, which is even more bearish than this chart here, right? So look at this. You got a triple top in the semiconductor sector. You got a triple RSI divergence in the semiconductor sector. Guys, this is a bear. You got a MACD cross forming here in the semiconductor sector. This has all the ingredients you need for a further continuation lower within this market downturn. Okay, so LRCX is your second top shorting idea. And let's kind of go over where we think this could go. Obviously, it's dependent on the market, but let's actually compare this to the semiconductor sector. You're going to see what happens to the semiconductor sector every time it gets to the top. It drops from 257 down to 220, 257 down to 220, 257 down to 220. Well, if we take that and apply that knowledge here, top here, 660 down to 560, 660 down to likely 560. Okay, so beautiful chart here. You got 50 points of downside there. It's like a 10% drop you're looking at here in LRCX. Further continuation, I believe, and that's going to be your second short idea. Third short idea is going to be JPM. Okay. Now, JPM is obviously part of the bank sector, which we've went over and showed to you the weakness being down 2.41%. Incredible selling, pressure here coming in recently. And on top of that, if you look at the levels here in JPM and you look at the distribution and how investors are absolutely, getting out of this right now. Well, let's also take a look at the level, right? Well, this level here has not been broken for the last 4 months. Well, if we can break this level, you got a lot of open airspace below here where the sell-off could really intensify. So what I'm really paying attention to is, look, I don't want to short it here, but I do want to short it here. Does that make sense? You want to break this major level of support, and at that point, I will definitely be ready to short JPM. Understand with JPM, it's not necessarily going to be as profitable as BKNG or LRCX in my opinion, but at the same time, I think it's easy money. If we break that level and the sell-off intensifies here during this market downturn, that's an easy short there, okay? So that's going to be your third best short. Now, fourth and fifth short are going to be utility sector stocks, okay, which are going to be DTE, and actually let me first highlight XLU. the utility sector, right? Remember, this is the other bearish sector, 2.6% downturn here on the most recent day. You got ridiculous sellers coming in, ridiculous distribution, right? Which just tells us investors are, getting out of this quickly. So when you look at this chart, once again, it's just like the jet sector, right? It's downtrending while the market's been uptrending, right? That's what we want to see to signify to us the weakness within that sector, right? So uptrending S&P, well, you got downtrending XLU. Top of that, crazy sell volume and a ton of other factors. So now let's find some utility stocks that also resemble this weakness that we're seeing here that we believe would give us a major drop. Okay, so that's going to be, for me, a DTE is one of my favorite utility stocks. A short, once again, is this going to be as profitable as BKNG or LRCX? No, it's not. But at the same time, beautiful chart, and it shares all the characteristics of what we just went over. Weakness in relation to the market, high sell volume, distribution, which is all the things you need to be seeing if you're trying to short a stock. Okay, so DTE is your fourth short idea, and a fifth trading idea is going to be NRG. Okay, now NRG, you can see, has not just been downtrending for the last 3 months, it's been downtrending for the last 5 months. Okay, so since February, you set a peak here, and it had this major counter bounce. Okay, and that's what I love about it, is it has so much more downside. You've got downside from 36 down to 32, which would be about a 9% drop here in NRG that you could be looking at, right? So that's what I like about this chart here, is the downside it has, in my opinion, understanding that, once again, it's a utility sector stock that's been actually underperforming the market for not just, like DTE, which has been underperforming for now only about, 2 months, right? Well, NRG has been underperforming for 4 or 5 months, and that's what I like about this chart, because it's got that major counter reversal that is also going to be counter reversed back to the downside with all the similarities and factors we pointed out here in the utilities chart. It's got it, right? So that's what we like about NRG, and that's going to wrap it up for your top 5 shorting ideas during this market downturn. On top of that, how are we so confident this will be a real market downturn? We're going to take this out and zoom out to a 2-year chart. So since we hit the lows in the COVID crash here, you're going to see we've had this major uptrend line, for a while, right? And so never have we ever broken below this uptrend line. Now, finally, we have done exactly that. Now, this is not just a, wishy-washy, on the edge break. This is a serious, definitive break below this major trend and support. And so when you compare this to, the recent times where it was on edge, it wasn't necessarily certain if we're really breaking through. No, this time it's certain. There's no questioning that, okay? So you have to understand that, number one, we are not the only people who are seeing this. Institutions will see this. Algorithms will notice this. And so, once again, that's exactly why you're seeing such an intense sell volume come in on this exact break, right? Is because, once again, algorithms are seeing this, institutions are seeing this, and trend is, if I'm not sure if you guys, pay attention to some of these algorithms and these trading institutions. Trend is probably the most important part of most of their processes, just like it is for most people as well, right? They're not that much different than what we do, although they have a lot of, computing power and these extra equations and cool things that they can do, right? Well, trend is still that main thing, no matter who you are, really, right? And so, once again, when you break that trend, right, that signal is flashing for them, okay? Just as it is for us, okay? But at this point, you have to understand that this sell-off, guys, the reason it has not reached that max intensity level is because you're going to have a lot of institutions that are going to make that decision. Hey, do we start selling some stuff here or not? On top of that, you still have a ton of people who are, salivating, ready to buy this dip right now, okay? And the reason they're ready to buy this dip is because buying the dip has worked every single time, right? Buy the dip works, buy the dip works, buy the dip works, buy the dip works, buy the dip works. So they're thinking the same thing this time. Buy the dip, it's going to work. But, little do they realize this will be the time it doesn't work. But until that happens, and until they realize, and until they break there's going to be a lot of people trying to buy here temporarily until ultimately that breaking point comes in and you break those buyers, and that's when the actual sell-off can intensify and become a lot sharper to the downside, is when those people are like, oh shit, they give up, and then that's where the real move lower comes down. And I believe that's exactly what's going to happen here in the S&P 500. So if that happens, guys, I think, drop to 4,000 absolutely is coming, and definitely lower than that here, based on how important and how pivotal of a moment this really is, guys. This is a huge point in the charts, and so a huge point in the charts points to a huge move lower as well. And so that's exactly why those are our top 5 trading ideas. That's exactly why I don't think you should be buying the dip right now. And that's exactly why I do believe we're going to get a further continuation lower. Now, guys, if you want to stay up to date on when is it time to buy the dip, stay tuned and stay subscribed to this channel. That way I can actually keep you up to date when we believe we've reached the bottom. That way you can start loading up and buying again, because once again, it's not going to be a market crash. So it's actually going to lead to a great buying opportunity, which is what a lot of us have been waiting for, right? So that's great stuff. And on top of that, guys, this will be very profitable. I've just shared some of our ideas with you. And, by the way, keep in mind, number 4 and number 5 trading idea, I'm probably not going to be doing those, but I give them to you just because everyone's got different account sizes, right? Everyone's got different situations, different opportunities, right? Like the number 5 trading idea I gave, which was NRG, it's a very cheap stock that probably anyone can trade, right? That's why I kind of put it in the mix there just to give you ideas, but I'm probably not going to do this one myself. But I wanted to put it out there for you, right? So, guys, at the end of the day, if you want to profit on this downward turn, okay, by trading options, I highly suggest you don't try to do this on your own, because, look, the trades, they can be phenomenal, and you can still lose money if you don't execute properly. And, that's why you've probably had some trades of your own where they were, awesome trades, yet you still lost money, or you ended up being correct on the trade, you still lost money, right? It's because with options, guys, there's so many factors that go into it. And obviously the trading is not just about the trade itself, it's also about the emotions involved. And guys, when you trade with a coach, you can mitigate those problems and see the success and the results you really want to get on this drop. So guys, highly recommend, if you're trying to make a killing and a fortune on this drop, you sign up and get some coaching here at Crash Trading. Work with a coach where you'll get real-time feedback. You'll get to be, told when to enter, when to exit. You'll be kept calm and cool and collected through your trades without freaking out, right? Without panic selling for a loss, even though it ends up being an amazing trade, guys. This is what's really going to help you, profit during this market downturn. So I'm wishing everyone the best of luck. That being said, you can pay on our site if you want to sign up and trade live with a coach. You can get 10% off when you pay in Bitcoin. Obviously, we trade crypto and the market. Recently, the market's been very quiet. It's been very stagnant. Therefore, we've kind of shifted away from our market analysis, market predictions. But now that things are finally heating up again, we will be trading the market much more frequently now. So, guys, the time is now. Let's make some money. Let's make a killing on this market downturn. And once again, I'm wishing everyone the best of luck. If you have any questions or you want to get in touch with me, please schedule a free 20-minute call on our website, and we will talk it up. That being said, my name is Alex. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Good luck out there. Take care.